Welcome once again to the Tin Dog Podcast. This week's episode is dedicated to Peter Ware at Doctor Who magazine, who sent me a photograph of John Pertwee that I've been after for some time. It was taken just before he died, and is a photograph of him holding his gotcha. Behind him is a collection of things that he kept from his Doctor Who time, and there, on the shelf, is the small, yellow Bessie that I made him. Even on the photograph it looks a bit like a yellow smudge, but it's nice for me to know that he kept it and that it's on the shelf, so thanks. So, first off, let's deal with Dead Man Walking. Torchwood episode 2.7. It's the halfway point of the season, and things are quite interesting. However, I still feel that this could be one of the weaker stories of the season so far, which is a shame, because it still knocks socks off anything from Season 1. Things from Season 1 that foreshadowed this story were, of course, the gauntlet, people going, you know, they come in pairs, so we kind of knew at some point the other gauntlet would come along, which was fine. I'm glad Susie didn't come back again, and I must admit from the trailer I did not realise that the gauntlet would be used to bring him back, and that's something nice. It did feel from the trailer as though it was much more of a scary story, although it's as if this one was the scary one of the season. Although when you finally watch it, it wasn't that scary. It started very much like a John Constantine story, something from the Hellblazer comic, which was one of my all-time favourites. The sort of thing where the long-coated hero would walk into a bar and meet a character who really shouldn't be there, someone who was considerably older than their years, and someone who had mystical powers, also a throwaway character who you'd never seen before, who everyone would want to come back, although very rarely did. However, given Torchwood, it probably will bring the small girl back. Whether she's an alien or not, we don't know. It'll all be conjecture from this point onwards. If this episode is anything, it's a collection of questions. Who is the little girl? What happened exactly when Death attacked Jack, and how come he ended up just sitting in the front of a car? Why was the glove hidden inside the organ rather than under the church, as the prophecy had said? How come Death looks like, well, a skeleton? That's always been something I've wondered about. And if that was Death from the tarot cards, that sort of Death, the classic view of Death, where was his scythe? The ending of the story actually came as a little bit of a surprise to me, because I thought the only person Death wouldn't be able to kill wouldn't be Owen at all. It would be Jack. I actually imagined Jack stepping in and saving Owen from Death, or at the end of the fight with Death, that it seemed to be a bit of a wrestle. Well, either way, it didn't happen like that. It's fine. Next week seems to be more of the same. And remember, sci-fi shows ask the questions that other shows just can't ask because of the nature of their narrative, and that's something we should always be grateful for. Something I forgot to mention last week was that both of the previous stories seemed to be influenced heavily by the books that were available. I think one was Border Princess, and the other one was Slow Decay, the story of someone turning up in Torchwood and memories being used against them, and of course alien technology being used to help medicine. Quite nice themes, so you can see why they'd be reused. Used as influence material. Which means if the books are real and story-worthy, then of course they should have been on the lookout for such things. Let it go. You're more likely to have watched the TV series than to have read the books. So, did I enjoy this episode of Torchwood? Yes, I did. I have got slightly higher hopes for the rest of the season, but I don't live in dread of this season like I did Season 1, and that is always a good thing. And remember, every week that passes brings us closer and closer to Season 4 of Doctor Who. On the subject of Way, I have a review copy here of a new DVD from To Entertain. I'm very excited about this. It's the Time Crash DVD. It's the two Doctors. You can look back over the Tin Dog podcasts for a review of Time Crash. A fabulous story where Peter Davison and David Tennant meet up. This disc also has the extras of Voyage of the Damned. Oh, hang on. According to the press release, the DVD is actually the release of Voyage of the Damned, and Time Crash seems to be the extras on it. I'm not quite sure how that would work. Perhaps it's just that Time Crash is, shorter. It's only 10 minutes as opposed to Voyage of the Damned, which comes in at 70 odd. Well, in that case, I would review Voyage of the Damned again, but like I said, I did review that one a few podcasts ago. Looking back at Voyage of the Damned, it wasn't as bad as I thought at the time. It's still nowhere near my favourite Doctor Who story. I still have issues with Kylie being in it, but looking back over it, it's not as bad as I thought. Perhaps it's just that whole Christmas thing. You build something up, and nothing could ever match your expectations. I'm not backtracking, of course, but I do feel that some of the ribbing it got at the time was not as deserved. So, if you'd like to get the disc, it does have one set of extras, which is the making of. Now, someone once said that if I watch the making of Voyage of the Damned, I'll start feeling better about the actual story, the Christmas Confidential, and I felt slightly odd about that, but it's true. If you watch Christmas Confidential, you start going, yes, I can see why you made those choices, I can see why the characters were used in a certain way, I can see what happened, I can see the build-up. It's almost as if you're part of the process, and because you're part of the process, you start embracing the story so much more. Some people have pointed out that if you haven't seen The Poseidon Adventure, it's a much better story. Although oddly enough, The Poseidon Adventure itself is not great. So, if you want to make your own cover, feel free to buy Voyage of the Damned and stick your own Time Crash cover on it, and then imagine that Voyage of the Damned is this DVD extra that comes with it. Of course, a lot of people just leave the cover as it comes. It's well worth buying, and for a vanilla edition, it actually comes with some extras. Let's hope this is the way of things to come. And with that, I'll let you go, and I'll get on with recording the anniversary special. Be seeing you. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.